Hello dear students, welcome to Bajirao Ias Academy interview guidance program. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss about the Paytm payment bank crisis. So in this lecture specifically talking, we will be dealing with few questions. One is, what is the issue of Paytm payment bank crisis, and what exactly is the meaning of payments bank, what are the powers of these payment banks, what they can do, and after that under which regulations, under which guidelines the payment banks are usually regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. So we will understand those things. So firstly, why it is in use with respect to Paytm payments bank. So recently the Reserve Bank of India has ordered the Paytm payments bank to halt most of its business operations. Okay, so it has said that the Paytm payments bank should halt its business operations in India. So what is the issue? Why the Reserve Bank of India has ordered that the Paytm payments bank should halt or stop its operations? What is the issue? So the issue is Paytm payments bank has been facing the scrutiny. Okay, so it has been facing the scrutiny of RBI, Reserve Bank of India, since 2018, right? So this is particularly because of concerns related to the know your customer complaints of the Paytm payments bank. Okay, so it has floated the norms of know your customer norms, and apart from that, the RBI has been scrutinizing the payments bank, Paytm payments bank, because of IT related issues as well with respect to this particular bank. So because of the know your customer complaints as well as the IT related issues, the RBI has been scrutinizing the Paytm payments bank since 2018. Okay, so this is the actual issue. So in this context, why RBI has been regulating Paytm payments bank? So we will also understand this in a detailed way. So RBI has been scrutinizing Paytm payments bank since the year 2018. So in this scrutiny, Reserve Bank of India has found that the Paytm payments bank has violated its rules and regulations. So what are the rules and regulations that the Paytm payments bank has violated? Okay, so it has violated the ceiling on the customer deposits. So these payment banks have certain ceiling. Payment banks have certain ceiling over the deposits. So these deposits ceiling should not be breached. The first violation. And the second violation is the payment banks, Paytm payment banks has also been, Paytm payments bank has also reporting the suspicious transactions in this particular bank. Okay, for example, money laundering, black money, and illicit uses of money. So all those comes under the suspicious transactions. So therefore the Paytm payments bank has also been reporting the suspicious transactions, and apart from that, it has also not been complying with the Foreign Exchange Regulation or Management Act. The payments bank has also not been complying with the Foreign Exchange Management Act. So because of this reason, the RBI has issued notice, or RBI has ordered the Paytm payments bank to halt or stop its operations in India. Okay, so why? Because the Paytm payments bank has been committing the financial crimes in the name of banking, especially the suspicious transactions, and not complying with the Foreign Exchange Management Act, and even breaching the ceiling on the customers' deposits. Okay, so that has been led to the falsifying the customer information. So whoever holds the bank accounts in the Paytm payments bank, so the Paytm has done falsifying customer information, and it has also been doing the money laundering activities. Okay, so it has also been doing the money laundering activities, and because of this reason, the RBI has accused Paytm of financial crimes. So what are the new guidelines that were issued by the RBI with respect to the Paytm payments bank? Okay, so RBI has asked this Paytm payments bank to stop all services, so that is being offered by its banking division. Okay, so Paytm Payments Bank banking division. So RBI has clearly directed Paytm Payments Bank to stop all its services offered by its banking division. Okay, so it is also known as the wallet service that Paytm Payments Bank provide. So this is particularly because persistent non-compliance of the rules which are issued by the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so the Paytm Payments Bank has been continuously floating the norms of the or the guidelines which are issued by the Reserve Bank of India. So it has been asked the company to stop accepting new deposits. Okay, so new deposits cannot be accepted from the people through the Paytm Payments Bank. So one, and secondly, from March 2014, so new deposits will not be accepted from the Paytm Payments Bank. So although customers would be allowed to continue making payments until balance in their accounts is exhausted. So till the balance in their accounts is exhausted, they are allowed to make payments. Okay, so these were the guidelines that were issued by the Reserve Bank of India to the Paytm Payments Bank. On what grounds? It has been floating the norms of know your customer status and several other IT related issues. Because of these reasons, RBI has issued recent orders to the Paytm Payments Bank. Now in this context, we will understand what is a payment bank. Okay, so what is a payment bank? So a payment bank is actually a new category of banks. So this was created or conceptualized by the Reserve Bank of India itself. So what is the purpose of creating this payment banks? The purpose is financial inclusion. Okay, so these payment banks do not have any physical presence, rather they have a digital presence. Okay, so digital presence. So anyone with mobile phone and internet access can have access to the digital banking, and that could result in financial inclusion for the people. Financial inclusion. So because of this reason, RBI has given go ahead for the payment banks. So these payment banks operate on a smaller scale than the actual bank, and they doesn't involve any credit risk. Okay, so there will be no credit risk in the sense that they will not issue they will not advance any loans, and they will not issue any credit cards to the customers. So what is the aim? So as I have already told you, that to provide savings account to those who are not able to create a savings account, because people may afraid of the maintenance charges or high maintenance charges by the formal banking channels. So in order to provide savings account for the customers, the RBI has conceptualized the payment banks. Okay, so when we talk about the operation of these payment banks, so they operate digitally, unlike the commercial banks or scheduled commercial banks which have their physical branches. Okay, so on mobile phones and on other devices using internet rather than through the physical branches, these payment banks work. Okay, so they also provide credit facilities, provision of credit. So it provides credit to smaller units in the sense such as low income households, migrant labor workforce, small business units, and unorganized sectors. Okay, so it provides credit to smaller units. So credit will also be on the smaller scale. So what are the functions of these Paytm payment? Generally, what are the functions of the payment banks? Firstly, it will do the function of remittances. So what are remittances? For example, the workers who have been working in other countries, especially Gulf countries, they can send the remittances to their relatives in India. Okay, so it can do the function of remittances. And net banking can also be done through the Paytm Payments Bank, and bill payment, utility bill payments can also be done, and mobile banking, third party fund transfers, it can issue debit cards, and ATM services can also be provided. And these are the major functions that are performed by the Paytm or any other payments bank. So however, there are certain functions which the payment banks cannot perform. So what are those limited services or functions? So firstly, these banks cannot carry out lending activities. So lending activities like advancing loans and issuance of the credit cards, etc. Okay, so they cannot advance loans, so because they do not involve any credit risk, and after that they cannot issue any credit cards for its customers as well. Okay, so these are the functions that payment banks perform, and these are the limited services they are providing. So in this context, we should also understand the regulations of these payment banks by the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so how payment banks are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India? Firstly, we need to talk about the scheduled banks. So the payment banks are given the status of a scheduled bank. Okay, so payment banks are also called as scheduled banks. They're given the status of scheduled banks under the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. So however, the words payments bank have to be used by the companies in their name in order to differentiate it from the other banks. Okay, so whenever they have started their operation, they have to use the name payments bank, so that there's a clear distinction and differentiation between the scheduled commercial banks as well as the Paytm, scheduled commercial banks and payment banks. So when we talk about registration of these payment banks, so these banks will be registered as a public limited company under the Companies Act of 2013. Okay, so they will be registered as, please be careful, all these statements can be asked as a question in your prelims examination. Okay, so these payment banks are registered as a public limited company, so that is under the Companies Act of 2013. So when we talk about the license provision, RBI provides license to these payment banks under the Banking Regulation Act of 1949. So when we talk about regulation of these payment banks, so RBI regulates the payment banks, and it will be governed under the provisions of various legislations. For example, the Banking Regulation Act 1949, Reserve Bank of India Act 1934, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, as well as the Payment and Settlements Act 2007, Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation Act 1961, and any other relevant statutes and directives. So under all these legal provisions, the Paytm or payment banks, the payment banks are generally regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so this is all about the Paytm Payments Bank crisis and RBI orders with respect to Paytm Payments Bank, and what is a payment banks and what functions they perform, and what are the regulations of RBI with respect to the payments bank. Okay, so that's all in this lecture, and thank you.